And welcome everyone to this PI software basics walkthrough. What we'll go through is just the basics, as I said. We have other webinars running that we will be recording as well. We'll go through some other parts of the functionality here. But for today, it's just the basics. I'll be presenting for around 20 minutes, and then we'll take questions after that. What you see here is the login screen of PI software. The link is app.predictiveindex.com. I wanted to highlight that you can log in 21 different languages in PI software. This is the interface language, so to speak, so everything in the software will be in the language you choose here, but you'll always be able to download reports in any of the 21 languages, regardless of your login language. I'm going to log into our demo account here. All the data you will see in here is dummy data, so there's no breaches of any data privacy laws or anything like that. No real data in here. First things first, I wanted to say that you should probably mostly use Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox as your browser. Do not use Internet Explorer because that is an outdated browser, according to Microsoft themselves. That is no longer supported, and it often gives you a lot of issues with PI software. Edge works sometimes, most of the time, and Safari sometimes. But Chrome or Firefox, those are sort of the best ones to use. If you are using one of those browsers and there's something that doesn't look right in the software, try clearing your browser data or browser cache. That often helps. So when you log in, you will get to the dashboard here. This is sort of the front page of PI software, intended to give you a quick overview of the most recent data in your company's account. You will have your company name up here in the top left corner, and you'll have your own name up here in the top right corner. The data that you see in the software depends on your access level. So maybe if you're a small organization, you have access to all of your company data. Maybe your administrator has decided that you should only have access to parts of your organization's data, in which case you will only see that data, of course. There is a search field here. Just wanted to highlight that. Some people miss it. So you can, of course, use that for anything, searching for names, emails, jobs, and so on. Over here, you have your name. You will have your own name here. If, when you log in, you see this blue bar up here, if your organization is using the cognitive assessment and you have been granted access to cognitive data, you may see this blue bar at the top, in which case you won't be able to see any cognitive data. But if you do see the bar, you just click on your name and click Show Cognitive Data. Like this. In your name menu here, you will also have access to your profile. You can choose your own profile, so you have a shortcut on the front page. If you're an administrator, you will have access to the administration module. I'm going to go through that on Tuesday in another webinar, so if you're an admin, you can participate there. Over here at top right, there's a little help button for the resource center. If there are any software updates, they make changes all the time and improvements all the time to the software. If there are software updates, there will be a little red circle with a number, just like you see on a smartphone. And you will be able to see the software updates, so what is new here. That's a good way to sort of stay up to date. You can also go to the PI Support Center here. This is a place, of course, where Predictive Index have put all sorts of resources. And all sorts of help on how to use the software, how to use the assessments. There's a lot of stuff in there. You're always welcome as a client to contact Humanostics, of course. We'll be more than happy to help you, but this is also a place for you to sort of search for assistance for yourself. Again, if you have feedback to the software, there's a feedback button. This one goes straight to the software developers in the US with Predictive Index. We also always recommend that you contact us first, because often we will be able to help you, or we will know whether a functionality is already available or if it's coming and so on. But there's an option to give feedback directly if you want. We have two shortcut buttons here. The purple button, Send Assessments, which of course leads you to the assessment center, so you can administer assessments. And there's a Create a New Job button that gives you a shortcut to creating jobs with the PI job assessment. Otherwise, we have the white menu up here, the top menu, which is the main menu. Just going to go through parts of that. In the Browse menu here, you always have a shortcut to the dashboard, which is the front page. If you click the little PI icon, you always can also get back to the dashboard from there. You have a shortcut to the Assessment Center. That's the same place as you go to if you click Send Assessments. And then you have access to folders. Folders is where your data is stored in your organization. This is set up by your administrators. Just letting in a few people here. So let's go to the folder hierarchy. Excuse me. The folder hierarchy is set up by your admins and is the same for every user in your organization. If your administrator has restricted your access to certain parts of your organization, you will only see the folders that you've been granted access to. So there are different sort of folders and subfolders in here. The way this is set up is entirely up to your admin. So maybe you have 3 folders, maybe you have 200. That's entirely up to the people who are administering your account. We also have Teams over here. Teams is a way for you as an individual user to sort of group people in a team, in a group, across where they're stored in different folders. So if you wanted to do a sort of a team report with people who are stored in different folders, you can create a team using this shortcut here. I'm going to go back to the dashboard. This Get Started button is only available if you're an administrator, so I'm going to skip that for now. Then we have the 4 menu parts here, which are the sort of the 4 modules of the PI combined solution. We have the Design module, the Hire module, the Inspire module, and the Diagnose module. Most of your organizations will have access to Hire and Inspire. Some of you will have access to Design, which is all about teams and the new team discovery tool. This is an add-on that some of you already have as a free trial, and some of you have purchased as an add-on to your subscription, and some of you will not have access to this. If you want to learn more about team discovery, you can watch the recording of the webinar that my colleague Mia did on Monday, running through the team discovery tool. All our webinars that we're running here in March are uploaded on the same page where you signed up for this one. In the Hire module, this is all about the recruitment process, obviously. So I'm hosting another webinar on how to run through this on Monday, I think. It has everything to do with hiring. So from creating new job to setting job targets to interviewing to onboarding your new employee. Inspire is all about development. So working with the people who are in your organization, your own employees. So working with individuals and also giving managers some tools to work with the people in their team individually. Diagnose, finally, is our employee experience survey. It's an employee engagement survey of sorts that you can also purchase as an add-on to your PI subscription. Finally, we have a shortcut to Learn, which is PI's new learning platform, obviously. On Learn, you can access lots of sort of small bite-sized e-learning pieces, watch videos, read articles, and take some short certifications also. This is not meant to replace attending official PI training, of course, but it's a great place for you to sort of get additional bite-sized learning. And there are lots of different topics. You can log in using the same login as you use for PI software. So on the dashboard, we have 4 main dashboard cards. You could say these 4 white cards here. They give you, like I said, an overview of the most recent data in your organization. So anything that has to do with teams, if you're using team discovery, we will over here. We have recent job activity, any jobs that you've created in your organization using the PI job assessment. And down here we have the recently completed assessments and the pending assessment. So invitations that have been sent out but not yet completed. If you click view all, you will go to a list view. I'll show you what that looks like at the end. You can also choose whether you want to see anything that's pending that you sent out or everything in your organization. So you can sort of distinguish between that down here. So let's go to the Assessment Center. I'm going to use the shortcut button. I could also go to Browse and Assessment Center over here. So the most common way to send out assessments is by personal invitation on email. That is the default when you go in here. You can expand this gray bar up here. You get the same 2 dashboard cards from the front page, recently completed and pending assessments. So if we start typing a name here, I can start typing. You can create a new person, or it will tell you if there's already someone in your software account that has that name or that email. This is just meant for you to avoid creating the duplicate entries. So I'm going to create a new person. I will have to enter a first name and a last name, a valid email address, which this is not. Then I have to categorize whether this is a candidate or employee. The other button we usually don't recommend you using. Usually you will be working with candidates or existing employees in your organization. The way this is sorted is obviously for your own sort of overview of what type of person is this, but it's also for the people, especially in the EU and other countries that have strict data privacy laws. There are a lot of guidelines that you have to follow in terms of how long you store candidate data if you don't hire the person. So for this reason, the categorization is pretty important in these countries. So right now I'm going to choose candidate. If I hired this person, I would change it afterwards to employee. Then I choose what folder I want to store this data in. So when Maria fills in the assessments, where can I find them? I will have a D folder assigned to me by my administrator. It's this one. If I want to choose a different folder, I can remove this. I can search for a folder, and it will pop up here. Or I can click the little folder icon here, and I will get the whole hierarchy of the folders that I have access to. I'm going to choose my own folder here. Then I can link Maria's assessment results to a job. If I've been using the PI job assessment, which we highly recommend that you do, I can, when I get the results in from Maria, I can sort of compare them to the job target that we've set. So here I can link Maria's results to a job that I've created. Go. And then I click create new person. If I want to send out to 2 people at the same time, I could repeat the process that I just went through and add another person here. For now, I'm just going to click next. And then I choose whether I want to send the behavioral assessment or the cognitive assessment or both. In this case, I'm choosing both. If you choose both, you can choose between sending out both invitations at once. So both two emails will go out at the same time. Or you can tick this button here, in which case the person will receive the behavioral assessment invitation, fill that in, and once they've completed that, then they will get the invitation to the cognitive. Next, I will be able to customize the email invitations that go out. There will be a standard text, subject and message text for your emails. This is something that is set up by your administrators. You can choose to add to the subject line if you wanted to here. And you can choose the language of the invitation. Regardless of what language you choose for the invitation, you will always the assessment taker will always be able to choose from the 65, 68 languages that we have for the assessments. As you may know, it's very, very important that people complete assessments in their mother tongue if available, or if not, then the second best, the language that they know best. This is not a language test, so if I know I'm sending to someone who's Danish, I might as well send the invitation in Danish, because then I limit the risk of them thinking that they have to complete it in English, for instance. For the behavioral assessment, you can choose to have the behavioral report, which is the standard report for the behavioral assessment, sent automatically after they complete the assessment. Per default, it's not sent because we recommend that you give a proper feedback, a verbal feedback from someone who is certified in PI. You can preview the email here, so you will see what it looks like. And you can edit the sender details, so if you want to send on behalf of someone else, you can do that. And then you repeat the process for the other invitation, for the cognitive down here. And then you can simply click send. After this, these invitations will go out and you will see them in the pending assessments on your dashboard. There is another way. If you're sending to a lot of people at the same time, there are 2 other options instead of doing this individually like we just did. One is bulk send by CSV. CSV is a type of Excel file that you can upload using the template down here. You can download a template, fill that in like an Excel sheet, and then upload that, and then it will send out to all the people in the list at the same time. The options in here are the same as what we just went through with the type, the folder, what assessments, the language, and so on. If you need to send to a lot of people, there is an easier way, we think, than uploading Excel sheets. It's called invite by link. Invite by link, we also call that open invitation. This allows you to create a unique URL or hyperlink, and anyone who has that hyperlink will be able to self-register to take the assessments. So using the link, they just click, they enter their name and email, and then they take the behavioral assessment. And then all the results will go in at once. So you don't have to have their names and emails, and you don't have to go through the individual process that we went through before. So this is a very easy way for you to bulk send if you, for instance, for a job, if you have a lot of candidates. When you create the link, you give it a name and a description so you can find it in your list of invitations. And then you click the same options as before, the type, the folder, the job. Then you have some notification settings here. You can choose to be notified whenever, so get an email whenever someone completes the assessment. When you send out individual invitations, you will always get an email as the administrator when someone has completed the assessment. So you can choose to be notified here as well. You can also choose that someone else should be notified, let's say the hiring manager for a position. You can enter their email here. Again, you can choose the language, and you can choose whether they should get an invitation for the cognitive assessment after they're done with the behavioral assessment. Down here, you can choose to where they should be redirected once they complete the assessment. If you leave this blank, it will go to the predictiveindex.com, but you can choose to redirect to your own company website if you want to. Kiosk mode is for if you have all the people completing the assessment lined up in a row in the same room. Not likely during the pandemic, but that happens for some of our clients. For instance, for graduate programs, they do hiring events. They will put on kiosk mode, and then everyone will just line up and take the assessment one by one. Going to go back to the assessment center. We have two more options here. We have the checklist. This is for downloading a paper version of the behavioral assessment. There are still places in the world, some of our clients work with people who don't have a stable internet connection. So they have the option of downloading the checklist for the behavioral assessment so people can fill it in on paper, and then you can upload the answers afterwards. Only use this if you have to, because of course there's a risk of making errors because it's a manual process. Finally, we have Add by Score ID. Add by Score ID is if someone has a PI profile from another company, so let's say they were employed by another company using PI, they have a report with them. That report will have a 10-digit unique code that you can then use using this functionality here to upload and recreate their profile in your account, instead of asking them to take it for a second time, because we usually don't recommend that you do that. Going to go back to the dashboard. Once the results are in, so my candidate or my employee has created the assessments, I can either find them on the recently completed here, or I can search for them up here. So here is my candidate or my employee, and I will go to you click their name, and I will get to their, what we call their person page. This is where all the information about this person is. So you have their name up here, the job that they're associated with, their status, this is an employee, the folder that they're stored in, and the reference profile icon up here. You'll see the behavioral self pattern here. If you click full view, you get the synthesis and the self concept as well. Here is the 10-digit code I mentioned before. And if you have set a job target, you can compare the job like this. So you have the orange part is the PI job assessment target. On the left, you have all the reports that you can pull related to Alexander. I'm going to go through those in the webinar tomorrow, Friday. So if you want to learn more about that, please attend that. Down here, you can expand pattern insights. So it will give you some short keywords for the behavioral assessment for the 4 factors and the 6-factor combinations. This can be helpful for you if you log in a different language. You quickly get sort of some words to sort of use when you interpret the pattern. If they have a cognitive assessment result, you'll see that down here. Again, you can compare it to the job target. And you have the sort of the assessment details down here. So when was it sent and who administered it and so on. Last but not least, I want to show you list views. So if I click view all here, or if I go to my browse menu and folders and pick a folder, or if I search like I just did, I go to list views. This is just a quick overview of all the data at once. And what you can do in here is you can take bulk actions. So let's say I have 3 people that I want to put in the same folder, move to another folder. I can do that from here if I'm an administrator. Over here. There's also a sort functionality, some of the columns you can sort on, and you can filter up here. So that was it. 20 minutes have passed, and now let's take some questions if there are any. Please unmute yourself if you have any questions. So we have one from Christina. We're doing a very confidential recruitment process. Is it possible to send the PI to the candidates hiding the company email? Well, I mean, when you edit the sender details, it will you can change that, but it will still have a company name in your account. So let's take that one separately, Christina. That's a little bit of a precarious situation.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? So I think I will stop the recording. I will still take your questions, but I will stop the recording. So thank you for watching, and do let us know if you have any questions.